Okay, so when we're talking about volumes of cones and pyramids and prisms, sometimes you're going to just be asked for the volume, a lot of times. But sometimes you're going to be asked for missing pieces of the diagram while being given the surface area or being given the volume. Okay? So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to use the formula, and instead of solving for the volume like we have in our other examples, we're going to solve, in this case, we want to determine what the radius of the base of the cone is. Okay? So we're given a height of 4 yards, so that's from the tippy top to the base of the middle at the bottom, and we're given a volume of 205 cubic yards, so we're given the volume, and we're asked to find the radius. Frozen. Boom. Thawed out now. The volume formula, let's start with that. Good idea to always start with the volume formula because that's what ties all of these pieces together. What brings them all together is the formula for volume. So volume is, who remembers without looking? What is the volume for a cone? Pi r squared h divided by 3. Very good. Or 1/3 pi r squared h. Whichever one you want, I'll do the one you suggested. So the area of the base is pi r squared times h divided by 3. Perfect. Okay. Now, what I'm given here is the height. I have this. Good. I'm given the volume. I have this. Good. But I don't know what r is. So I need to try to, at the very end, what I'm going to try to do is isolate for r. I want r equals, and then I'm going to find this is the value. So I need to plug in all the values for what's known, and then I need to rearrange this equation so that I can get r all by itself and positive, and that's how you find the value. So in our other examples, we find volume. It's really easy. We just plug in the numbers and volume is already by itself. But here I have to do some rearranging. So I don't mind if you plug in your values right away and then solve for r. But what you could do is you could do the rearranging first and then plug in the values near the end. I think it's easiest to plug in the values first myself. So that's the way I usually do it. So 205 goes on the left side in place of v. See that? And pi is just a constant. Please remember that's not a variable. It looks like a letter. It's a Greek letter, yes, but it represents a number. So that's a number. It's not a missing variable. R, we don't know what it is, so we have to keep the r with the squared there. And h, I do know that that is 4. You don't need to include your units as long as the units all align with each other, as long as they're the same, okay, in the question. And then we'll divide by 3. All right. We got that figured out. Now, you can do some simplification here if you want, up in the numerator in the top of this right side. But you can go ahead, I would just multiply everything by 3 first, both sides by 3 to get rid of this 3 on the bottom. So, on your calculator, you might not need it for this calculation, but you will need it for others. So, 205 times 3 is what we're going to need to do. So, that's going to be 615 over here. All right, so it's like this. You multiply both sides by 3. The 3's are gone over here, and then 3 times 205. All right. And then what I have left over here is 4 times pi times r squared. And I'm going to have to zoom in here a little bit maybe. But I want to get r by itself, so I need to divide off the constant in front, which is 4 pi. And yeah, you can just use your pi button on the calculator to do that. So watch how I'll do this. I'll divide by, and you should use brackets if you have like a multiplication or operations in the denominator. So I'm just going to do 4 pi. Use your pi button because that will include all the decimals for you. So it'll be a very precise answer. So 615 divided by brackets 4 pi. Okay, I've got 48.94. So over here I've got 48.94 now. And that equals just r squared on this side. Okay, now this is all a little bit squished together here, but everybody following so far? So what's the final thing I need to do to get r all by itself? I need to? Yeah, I need to square root both sides. So that's how we can get r all by itself. The square root and the squared cancel each other out. And so r equals the square root of this number, which I'll do square root, and I'll use my answer function to include all the decimals there. And I've got 6.9957. So does it say how we should round this to the nearest something? Nearest yard there, I see. Okay, so that's going to be exactly 7, isn't it? 7 yards. The radius will be 7 yards. And of course, you can double check all of this, and I would suggest that you at least check mentally, or check that's a reasonable answer. But your check would be to include 7, or to put 7 in place of r, and make sure that you get a volume of 205. So if the volume was calculated here, I would do pi times 7 squared times 4 divided by 3, and this should equal 205, because that'll match up with the original question. So real quick, I'll do that for you. This is just what you can do to check. So I'm going to go pi, 7 squared is 49, so I'm going to go times 49, and then times 4, and then all that divided by 3. Let's cross our fingers. Okay, 205. Now, why is it not exactly 205? Yes, because we rounded this 7 number, right? We didn't use the exact decimal. So this is going to be off just a little bit, because this is our rounded answer. So do you think that we got a correct answer here? Do you think we're good? Excellent. If we put this exact example in, we would get 205. So approximately 205 for the check. So we're good. R equals 7 yards. Got it? Does that make sense? Okay, you could do this on your own now, you think? All right. If you're having trouble with isolating for variables here within equations, that's something you're going to need to practice. So come talk to me. Look up a video on isolating variables or solving equations, okay? You need to do some background work on that. Please do that, because that's going to be pretty important. All right. Great job.